For many of us, the snowboard season has just begun. The fruits of your labor are paying off on the hill, and we need to continue training off the mountain. But what does that look like? Today we have 5 of my favorite in-season exercises. Tune in. Before we get started, my name is Mark. I am a doctor of physical therapy and a snowboard instructor at Mount Bachelor, along with my wife, who is a personal trainer, massage therapist, yoga instructor, and we do all of this for snowboarders because we absolutely love it and we want to keep you riding until you are 70+ years old. For those of you who haven't watched this video, I highly encourage you to check it out. It will give you a good idea of how to program for in-season training while the snowboard season is here. Today's video is sponsored by LMNT. Yes, we don't take many supplements, but we love LMNT and we recommend it to all of our friends and family. Click the link in the description and right here on the screen. We love it. You get a free sample pack. You do have to buy some yourself, but we promise you won't regret it. Give it a try. Okay, now for the good stuff. My 5 favorite in-season exercises. Now, I will say the caveat being, these are not all the exercises that I do. I have many favorites, but these are ones that I felt that were appropriate for most athletes. Take that with a grain of salt. These are my current 5 favorite movements. So the first, or I guess the exercises that I'm going to be applying, I want to incorporate lower extremity strength like a squat, like I already discussed. Again, we don't need to make it complicated. I wanted to incorporate a shoulder-specific movement because it is the most commonly injured body part. I want to incorporate 2 separate core-based strengthening movements and then 1 full body movement to incorporate everything. So, here we go. All right, so in regards to a squat, again, I don't want to overcomplicate this. You don't need to overcomplicate this. There are a million different varieties of squats. You can just look on your Instagram and see someone doing something ridiculous that no one else can do. That's great for them, but is it appropriate for you? Probably not. So my favorite specific squat is an offset squat. So what does that mean? It means we have a weight on one side. So it requires a little bit more of the systems, the core specifically. It ultimately makes it a little bit more challenging. So we could do something as simple as, I happen to love kettlebells. You don't have to use a kettlebell, but you could use something like a dumbbell. I could do something as simple as, let's say, offset squat. So I can do a normal concentric based squat. I could also add a slow eccentric version. I could add an isometric stop for a few seconds and then drive back up to standing. So we can make this as creative as you want. Another version might be adding some sort of inclination if I feel like my mobility isn't quite there in my ankles, in my hips, anything like that, to compensate for as much as we need to. So that is kind of the basis of my first exercise, and that is an offset squat with a variety of intensities, with a variety of muscle contractions. You can really spice it up as you like. In regards to reps and sets with this, again, it totally depends on the athlete themselves. I like to keep these relatively high with short rest breaks when we're in season. So we're kind of pumping them out, we're getting our heart rate up, and then we're also working on muscle hypertrophy and endurance. Okay, so number 2 is shoulder specific. Again, I'm going to use a kettlebell because I love it. It's versatile, but you don't necessarily need one. You can do this with a dumbbell. And this is a bottoms up isometric kettlebell hold. So we go into that position of comfort, which is 45 degrees. It's where that glenohumeral sits. And I can hold it right here, okay? I can do some marches. I can rotate with it, but essentially the goal here is to work on that stability, that endurance, that strength. Now, to make this harder, I can work in planes. If I want to go from sagittal to frontal, I can actually add some contraction into it, and then I can reverse. So working on that stability again, that grip strength, and then relax, okay? And then if I want to take a break here, I can come back up, hold, and then move in that dynamic way as much as I want, all right? So in regards to these holds, 6 to 10 seconds at a time, depending on the weight, I may need to lessen that. And again, that rep range is gonna be a little bit higher just to focus on that endurance and hypertrophy overall. If you like this video, we do appreciate a like and subscribe. It helps us continue to put out great content like this so you can keep snowboarding until you are 70+ years old. Okay, 2 core exercises. We can do these pretty much on the daily if we want. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but some people do. That's great. So in regards to core strengthening, you probably hate, but I love planks. I think they are absolutely appropriate for snowboarders. We're keeping our core engaged the entire time. But the difference here is we're not just in one singular hold. I want to move a little bit, okay? So the key here is we're rotating from a normal to a reverse plank while also reaching out for our feet. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I start in a tall plank position, like so. Now I'm gonna reach out, kickstand, whatever you wanna call it, break dance, rotate, keeping the glutes engaged, extended, out, kick, reach, and then back. Now I can rotate the other way, or I can just continue again. Slower, the better. Really feel everything that you're doing. You can pause in a position if you'd like. Totally up to you. The idea here is we're keeping our core engaged, but we're making it more fun. We're also moving in different planes, different intensities as you would on the hill. In regards to rep and set for this one, I like to stick with a 60-second base. That's too easy, make it more challenging. That's too hard, drop it about 15 seconds and then start again. Exercise number 4, okay, another core exercise. I've been on a big bar hanging kick as of recent, past year or two. I think they're really good for your shoulders. But in saying that, we can also approach the core with that. So if you don't have a bar, this one might not be appropriate for you, but everybody has a deck or something they can hang off of. So in regards to this exercise, everybody's done kind of a captain's chair, hip flexion, things like that. This one I want to do a rotation. So what I'll do here is I want to make sure my scapula is protracted first, and then I'm rotating using that rectus abdominis, coming back to neutral and then the other direction. And I can really test and toy with rotation, counter rotation. Key here is we're kind of hitting 2 factors. We're hitting that rectus in regards to flexion in our abdomen. We're also hitting those hip flexors, which we get a lot of DMs and questions regarding pain in the hip flexor, fatigue, just because hip flexors are constantly used, whether you're going into a flexed squat position, even if you're coming out of it, they're working. If you're hanging with you're seated with the snowboard, they're just utilized in many, many different factors. So I like that, and it also gives us good practice to work on that shoulder strength and stability, being in that protracted scapular position. Okay, last one, exercise number 5. Again, you can use a dumbbell, you can use a kettlebell. I'm gonna use a barbell because it's different, it's fun. Yeah, so I'm gonna grab 15 kgs here. It's not a ton of weight, but it's enough, 33 pounds or something like that. So I start with the swing. So here, come back up. Now I rotate. Here, come back up, and then opposite. So what's going on here? This is a full body movement. We get our lower extremities, we get our core, we get our upper extremities. We add that rotation, counter rotation. We're working on pressure change fore and aft. Catch my breath. There's just a lot going on here. It's a simple tool. It's a simple exercise. It'll get your heart rate up. But overall, it's great for us because, again, the simplicity aspect, but we're also approaching everything there. We don't need to be specific. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Those are my 5 favorite exercises for in-season snowboard workouts. Why do we continue to work out? Why do we have to work out when it's already in season? The idea behind this is you worked hard up to this point. The The season has started, but we don't want to stop strength training altogether. You see, we've built muscle, we've built endurance, but if we stop doing those things, even though we're snowboarding on the mountain, we're going to lose some of that ability. So the idea here is to maintain that strength, to maintain that endurance by doing the work off the mountain as well. Most importantly, I want to emphasize to keep it as simple as possible. Do what you are able to do without making it overly complicated. If you have programming, fantastic. But if you don't know what to do, just keep it simple. Lastly, the most common injuries tend to be upper extremities. So I want to focus on working and strengthening those upper extremities as well as our core, because we can continue working out our core. We also want to focus on some lower extremity strength because that is probably what is most utilized on the mountain. So how are we going to split this up? We're going to look at a 3-tier system, tier 1 being your priority, tier 2, and then tier 3. So today we're going to focus on strength-based days. So tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So I'm going to focus on some lower extremity, some upper extremity, and some core. And that is a wrap. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this was helpful. I hope you can apply some of these into your normal routine. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.